sorry, get that going. So many things to do. Okay, the chat. Okay, can you guys all see the chat? You know it's there. Okay, and I just want to make sure it's recording. Yes, it is. Okay. All right, so now I'll go back to the beginning. Thank you. Okay, so Learn Something New is the title of NFPA Journals. That's our magazine of NFPA Journals video series that explores the cool stuff that's happening, technology, codes and standards and changes that we've had to make because of COVID, risks and challenges and ideas. So I thought it was applicable given that what we're all trying to achieve these days. We're the ones who have to learn something new. So what's new at NFPA and how can NFPA help you do your job, your multiple jobs? I'm going to walk you through some stuff that's coming down the pipe and also point you to some resources NFPA has created and as things have evolved over the last several months. So there are 4 categories: current events and technology, resources, campaigns and programs, and educational messaging. So some updates on all of that. Again, feel free to write in the chat if you have questions or wave your hand at me, and we can stop and have conversation and discussion and question and answer if you like. No problem at all. Okay, so current events. I wanted to talk to you for just a minute about the resources NFPA has to help you navigate this crazy, crazy world. We've taken a big bite of this and done a lot of work. And even when I go on the website every day, I'm amazed at the quantity and quality of the resources that are available. So there are a host of COVID resources. If you go to nfpa.org, which is our homepage, and scroll down, it's a WordPress page, so very familiar format for a website to most of you. You will come to this section, disasters and COVID, and this is what you'll see. And those 3 boxes on the lower portion change often and they are updated regularly, but this gives you sort of the entry point into what we have available for you to, again, help your communities. So if you search, and this is the easiest way to do it, if you search the words NFPA responds to the coronavirus, because our website is so deep and so big, you can get sucked into that vortex, this is what you will find. So you will find resources that emergency managers and businesses and schools and healthcare providers can use to help prepare for, develop, or update community plans and protect those who may be vulnerable. So on the website, you can find news releases and journal articles and videos on issues such as hand sanitizer. If you remember back several months ago, there was an issue about hand sanitizer and whether it can catch fire in a hot car, which we don't have to worry about right now, but we did. Fact sheets to help you as educators and fire prevention officers help your community. So this is what this page looks like as you scroll down, all these wonderful fact sheets, which I'll show you in a little bit more detail in a moment. But the sheet you see on the right, for example, building and life safety issues for safely reopening schools, that was in huge demand back in September when that's what was happening, and even back in the late spring when schools had closed and were reopening, and a big topic was, well, do we continue to do fire drills? So this is some guidance on all of that. Very, very popular subject, as I've said. Pardon me. So these again are all on that COVID page. I hate that phrase, but they're all on that COVID page at nfpa.org. They are free, of course, and easy to print out or send the links to your municipality, your school board, your FPOs, your CAOs, your inspectors, anybody in your community who might be able to use them or be interested in that information. So if you have a question about COVID and buildings and inspections and safety and fire drills, we've probably got the answers in some of these sheets. And of course, there will be some references to NFPA codes and standards that may or may not be applicable to you, but the information is all still very relevant, okay? So what else have we got there? If you scroll down further on that page, you're going to come to this block of information, and this lists some of these pardon me, resources, but also some videos and some other resources that can help you. And what I thought was great is that we stuck in these options so that you can subscribe to this information and have it come directly to your inbox rather than having to go look for it. And again, as COVID evolves and as the situation evolves, we don't even know what we don't know. We don't know what people are going to need. And as we find out, we're adding it to the page and to the website. So the best way, or the easiest way and the most efficient way to find out all that information is to have it come to you rather than you having to go look for it. So if you want to screenshot that or snapshot it or take a picture of it, that can help you. And also I can send links to Carol afterwards and we can send them out to everyone. Okay. All right, so there is a feed that you can subscribe to, an RSS feed, and also an e-newsletter. And NFPA is pretty good. If you subscribe to these things, we won't bombard you with everything else that we send out. You have to subscribe to it to get it. So, okay, there we go. All right, so a little bit more. So this was another fact sheet that we had done specific to first responders. A lot of questions about, what do we do? How do we approach things? What should we do? What do we need? Everybody has a plan until it's necessary to have a plan, and then people question the plan. So this was a good guide and a good sheet to have also on that COVID page. And again, specifically for first responders, may still be very relevant to you guys where you're in a pretty good situation, but as situations change and evolve, it may be something that you want to consider sharing within your circles. Okay. Outdoor heater safety. This was, again, a very popular resource and still is, of course, here in Ontario and particularly in Toronto. They've extended the patio season through the winter. So you can't buy an outdoor heater to save your soul, although things keep changing here, particularly again in Ontario and in Toronto. And I'm not sure if that will continue to be the case, but really good information for anybody who is doing any entertaining or hosting outside, where we were seeing, of course, events being held outdoors. So things like wedding receptions, birthday parties, that kind of thing, those are limited now in this part of the country. And obviously they're limited in the West where it's colder, but where climate allows, you're still gonna see that kind of thing because people had events scheduled, and now they're smaller events with a maximum of 10 in a lot of locations, but they can still go ahead. So this is important information and really easy for you to share by email, not necessarily social media. So if you're not a social media department or person, you can share it by email with your municipality, with your restaurant associations, with your event locations and whatnot, and again through government, through your municipalities. So some pretty solid information. Right? Resources we didn't even think of, right? Building and life safety issues for tents. So even now, weather in various parts of the country can fluctuate so much, and you could have events outside still. So how long can a tent be used? What are the egress rules? What are the load rules and whatnot? So fabric flammability. So lots of good information there as well. So a whole host of stuff. And I just wanted to show you sort of the variety that's there and how it is that we responded to the needs and the questions that were coming in through our website and through our emails. Okay. So kind of cool. And a last one, food truck safety may not be applicable to you guys, but it might get there yet. And it certainly might be in the spring. But because restaurants are not open in some places, again, certainly here, we have, as of Monday morning, we have a maximum of 10 for indoor dining. So that's not great. So imagine what that's like in Toronto if people are working and whatnot. So we're seeing more and more food trucks appear. And this is a fact sheet on food truck safety. Food trucks need to be inspected. And if they're in, if you have a community fair, for example, and you got a bunch of food trucks lined up, if something happens to one, then something's going to happen to another and another and another. And there has to be certain spaces between them and whatnot. So probably not an issue for you guys right now, but something that could be in the early spring when the weather's changing and you don't know what the rules are going to be at that point. So I was just amazed at the numbers of things that we have. So to keep up with all this technology and emerging trends and everything that's going on, another thing that you can do in addition to having the RSS feed and the newsletter is to bookmark NFPA Journals Learn Something New page. So this is what it looks like. Again, the link will come to you, or you can just do a quick search. So Learn Something New is a video series that happens every couple of weeks. It's a YouTube channel, and really fascinating, interesting looks at stuff. So when the explosion happened in Beirut, a look at whether something like that could happen here. More recently, I think they had all been so so tired, I guess, of really serious subjects. They did a Why Are Fire Trucks Red for a little bit of a lighter opportunity. And if you don't know why fire trucks are red, go ahead and have a look at it. It's only a few minutes long. And what do we have? That was a while ago. We had, well, a few thousand views, but those views go up and up and up. This slide is several weeks old now. So lots of good information again, and things you didn't know, but all of them, pardon me, are very relevant to what's happening in the world today. So again, a really great resource that is available for you. Okay, I'm just gonna let Jen in here. Okay, there we go. Okay, and so cool, the NFPA podcast. So more and more information that's delivered to you when you want it, how you want it. So if you're a walker or a runner, podcasts are fantastic ways to absorb information while you're doing something else. So you can go to the NFPA podcast page on the website, or you can download wherever you get your podcasts, as they say on CBC.
Oh, they can hear me.
Hey, Jen.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just going to mute you. There we go. All right. Okay, moving on. Pardon me. So there we go. The other thing is the online version of NFPA Journal Magazine. This is an incredibly wonderful tool. I like to bookmark the stories and read them when I travel. Of course, I don't travel anymore, so I've got a lot of stories bookmarked. You can see them either online, or you can subscribe to the magazine, which I also like to do. But Carol, the print is so tiny, you and I would struggle with it, so it's much easier to read it online. But again, really good information and really focused on what's going on in the world at any given time. So lots of, again, things that came up that we didn't expect, and you know, you don't know what you know again, right? So really good looks at what's going on in the world and how to deal with them as a fire department, as a municipality, as an entity, and what codes and standards apply. Okay, all right. So moving on, pardon me. So I told you we'd talk about technology. We all know, of course, that unattended cooking is the top cause of fires and injuries in Canada. And some of those fires and injuries are the results of people removing batteries from smoke alarms, of course, because the alarms go off when they're cooking. So alarm manufacturers have recognized this, and there's new technology to address it. And we also know at NFPA from our research and this report that you can see here that was, from July. There we go. From July, that fires caused by overheated or unattended oil in a pan on the stove is a main cause of fires and, of course, injuries. So the UL standard 858 became effective in June 2018 and requires new electric coil ranges that resist oil ignition. So in other words, the burners don't get hot enough to ignite oil in a pan. And then UL 217 and 268 address nuisance cooking alarms. So we'll look at those. So this is the standard 858 that looks at the temperature and the heat given off from electric stoves. And we know that the main source of burns for young children is electric stoves, is in fact electric stoves. So this is a good thing. So new stoves on the market, they're just becoming available now, will have it with coil burners. Electric stoves with coil burners will not be able to heat to a temperature that will cause oil to ignite. So I haven't been able to find them yet here in Ontario. They may be available in some locations and some more specialized stores in large centers, but I want you to be aware of it because it's new technology and it's something that's coming and that I hope you will hear about, and that I also hope will start to eliminate those cooking fires and particularly the cooking fire injuries. Any questions or comments on those? Anybody heard of that, familiar with that at all? Okay. Okay, so like I've said, cooking, as we know from Fire Prevention Week and unattended cooking, can't say that tonight, unattended cooking is a leading cause of fires. UL has done some great work on cooking and smoke alarms, and they have a series on their website that addresses that. And they're aimed at adults, and they're kind of funny and kind of cute, but get the point across. I'm just gonna play one for you.
Well, that's one way to smoke a salmon, Billy. Don't worry. As one of Billy's smoke alarms, we go way back. I used to beep, beep, beep at Billy when he cooked dinner in the past. I know, I was a nuisance. And Billy just shut me up. Use the trifecta. Rag to the face, broom to the gut, and for the finale, ripped from the ceiling and shoved in the kitchen drawer. Really? All to stop me from beeping? Well, I've improved over the years. Unlike his cooking, my new technology helps reduce cooking nuisance alarms. You see, I can now better distinguish between smoke from a fire and smoke from Billy's dreams of becoming the next Iron Chef. Oh, there, Billy. It's important to have good relationships with your smoke alarms, making sure we are in your home and have working batteries. Your smoke alarms are here to protect you. Listen to us. We are your friends. Hug.
More than half of all home fire deaths occur when there are no working smoke alarms. Make sure you have working smoke alarms in your home.
So there's a whole series of those videos. They're kind of light, they're kind of funny, and the person who becomes the smoke alarm is rather entertaining. But the point is obviously that UL has developed technology that helps to reduce cooking nuisance alarms, and that will of course reduce the numbers of batteries being removed and therefore increase the likelihood that smoke alarms will remain in working order. Guys heard of those or familiar with that at all? Okay, so good news, right? If you Google UL and smoke alarms, you will find the website, smokealarms.ul.org. And again, 5 or 6 videos that you can send out links to or have showing on your fire department social media or promote through your municipal YouTube channel or whatever it might be. So really, really good information and really solid, and hopefully, or we believe anyway, will certainly change the way that it will help. We hope it'll change our data, because that study that you saw the cover of a moment ago showed, I don't have the data in front of me, but that a very large percentage of, again, kitchen fires and injuries caused by kitchen fires are a result of people taking the batteries out of the alarms and not replacing them because the batteries are a nuisance. Part of that too is that alarms continue to be installed in older homes and older structures in the kitchen or too close to the kitchen. And hopefully as time goes on, that problem too will be eliminated, and that will help to reduce the numbers of batteries being removed from the alarms. Okay, makes sense? Everybody good? Somebody nod. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Okay, sorry. So in addition to that, UL has done some research that showed, pardon me, UL has done some research that showed what kind of particles these smoke alarms detected. So they have, what that allowed them to do was create smoke alarms that detect different types of smoke. So if it's smoke from something cooking, that's very different, and the particles are very different than smoke from something like polyurethane material from a piece of furniture smoldering. And that is the result. The result is those new smoke alarms. So those tests were conducted in a test laboratory. They had 4 ceiling mounted smoke alarms that were tested, and they put fresh frozen hamburgers on a broiler tray and then controlled the power to the electric broiler coils to test how the smoke alarms would react. And then for the polyurethane smoldering tests, the burning polyurethane creates large light colored particles and no flame, and that simulated a cigarette being left on a sofa cushion. So 2 very different types of smoke, and now they've developed the technology to be able to tell the difference between the 2 and therefore eliminate the nuisance alarms. So it's kind of cool, right? All right. So the traditional smoke alarm technologies are unable to meet the new polyurethane and cooking test standards, and the smarter technology is now required. They have microprocessors and multi-criteria sensors with advanced algorithms that allow them to detect very specific types of smoke. So this is what you're going to see, right? So the 217, pardon me, that's very sensitive tonight, eh? 217, this is what your certifications and seals will look like, and you should, we see them now in Walmart in the United States. I haven't been able to find them at Walmart here yet, but I'm fairly sure that they're coming. And if you go and look at the KIDA website, you can see there it is, the pardon me, TrueSense alarms that are available and within a bit of a reasonable price point as well. Okay, so they're coming, which is a good thing. All right. Okay, so that gives you a little bit more of the detail that by January, this date keeps moving, that by January 2022, under those UL regulations, newly installed household smoke alarms must meet the listing specifications to distinguish between smoke that's generated by cooking and more serious sources such as furniture. Okay. All right, so all of that was sort of the technical stuff and the stuff that we're looking at that is related to being at home and COVID and whatnot. And I'm going to provide you with some resources that are a little more public education directed, and that some of them you may be familiar with, and we're going to talk about how you can best use them over the next 6 or 8 weeks in the run up to the holidays. Okay, so something that we've learned through working with our teachers through our education department at NFPA, and also just listening to people we know who happen to be in schools, is that people who are teaching from home, remarkably enough, are hearing, people who are teaching online are hearing chirping smoke alarms in the background when their students are on Zoom calls. So we're all a little taken aback by that. So we just want to remind you, and I know that in New Brunswick, you probably have a higher population of students in school than we do here in Ontario, and perhaps in many states as well. But regardless, it was something that came up, and we like to keep abreast of the trends and what we hear. So just reminders to let people know all the time that if a smoke alarm is chirping, if you replace the battery and that doesn't fix it, then obviously the smoke alarm is past its date and you need to replace it, and that they do expire after 10 years. So these are our social media cards to that effect. I can send them to you if you like. They're a bit hard to find on our website, but they're out there. And then if you go to the USFA website, there is a ton of free resources on every topic you can imagine, and you can download them, pull them off, and they're so simple. They're either pictographs or very easy language to understand, and again, available free to download and for everybody to use. So that was just something that I thought was interesting and a bit odd, actually, that teachers are hearing the chirping alarms as they're doing their calls with their students, and the alarms just keep chirping. So we want to make sure that that's an issue that's addressed. All right, so I know that we did this weeks ago, and I know that you all know that the Fire Prevention Week theme was serve up fire safety in the kitchen, but it's still relevant. Of course, in the States, Thanksgiving is approaching. We had our Thanksgiving, and it worked so well because it was immediately following Fire Prevention Week, and it led into it so nicely. But this is still an issue, and again, I think because you guys are in your pardon me, your Atlantic bubble, you probably don't have as many people at home so much as we do now. certainly here in Ontario, people are not working in downtown Toronto. They're not working in downtown Oakville. Everybody's still working from home. Regardless, over the holidays, you're still going to have limited numbers of people in smaller gatherings. And that means that more people are going to be cooking in their own homes. So unbelievably enough, we've heard from turkey producers and grocery stores and whatnot that people are looking for, they're preparing for more smaller turkeys because more people are going to be cooking for smaller crowds. So I thought that was kind of fascinating and interesting. So we still want to make sure that we get that message out about unattended cooking, staying in the kitchen when you're cooking, and serving up fire safety in the kitchen. So all those resources that are at fpw.org, firepreventionweek.org, are still relevant. And as you know, we've got all of the social media cards, again, that are still relevant, perhaps not so much the immediate Fire Prevention Week one, but all the others. And we've got them, pardon me, in English and French. So if you go to fpw.org and go to toolkit and then scroll down to social media cards, you will find all of these social media cards that are still very relevant, and the messages stand up, which was our intention this year for Fire Prevention Week. And it just turned out that, of course, they're in much more demand because of the situation we're in. So we've got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter in English and French. Right, so they're all there and they're properly sized for all of those platforms if you're able to use them. And I have seen them come out through offices of the fire marshal and various municipalities and lots and lots of fire departments in New Brunswick in English and French. So that was very exciting at the time, but just a reminder that you can use them again as we head into the holiday season. Okay. All right, some other things. People are spending far more time outdoors, and that's a good thing, but we also want to remind people what to do and how to be safe outdoors. So some of the tip sheets that we have, of course, you're familiar with the tip sheets, and if you go to nfpa.org, hover over fire prevention, and then safety tip sheets, you will find these. So we have a campfire safety tip sheet. We have portable fireplace safety, and particularly that little blurb, if you can see it on the right-hand side there, the ethanol fuel smarts. I know that you probably all heard about those pots that you refill with fuel, and they've caused some terrible, terrible incidents to have happened over the last couple of years. So these are great reminders. You can hang these up. I mean, you can put them in grocery store bulletin boards. You could include them in church bulletins. You could hand them out or have them piled up at food banks, anywhere that people still go. You don't have to just email them out. So they're available again to download and print. And then these are just a couple of social media cards that we've had that worked really well over the summer, but we are finding everybody's still doing the outdoor thing. Everybody's doing campfires, everybody's doing fire pits. So we want to make sure that you have access to the messages. I know they're in feet, and we don't have these two in French, but where there's a will, there's a way. So if there's demand, we can most certainly work on that, okay? But just stuff that might help you. And then as we approach December and Christmas, there is a lot of information available about holiday safety, and for all different kinds of holidays. Of course, we just celebrated Diwali, and we put lots and lots of information out, particularly here in Southwestern Ontario, through our social media channels and to our fire departments. Things like fireworks, which I'll show you in a moment, which were a significant issue. So we have a holiday safety page, again, NFPA.org, fire prevention, and then seasonal, and you will find this page that has the safety tip sheets for all kinds of things, and then a whole bunch of activities. So these little gift tags are on our sparky.org page, and they have fire safety tips on them. Yes, you're going to be that person, I am, who prints them out and cuts them out and then puts them on the gifts with the fire safety messaging on them. So you'll be that aunt or that uncle who drives everybody crazy, but it works, right? People remember. So some really good resources for you. And again, we're trying to do things that you can use, that you don't have to work at by having to create a virtual opportunity or lesson plan or whatever, but little things that your residents and your constituents can take advantage of. So you can put that out on social, put a link to it, and people can use it. You can send it to daycares or preschools or schools, and teachers can print them and have the kids cut them out and take them home. And I don't think anywhere does it say Christmas. It's all the one Christmas tree is there, but they're usually holiday related rather than Christmas, okay? And then, of course, what this video that goes back many, many years that everyone likes to see and share. So I'm just going to show it to you to remind you that by all means, use it and share it if you can, if you have social media channels. And let me make sure it's going to work. It worked 2 minutes ago. There we go. It's a little funny, sound is funny. So it's a not watered tree. So it's scary, but it works, and you'll see it in lots of, pardon me, lots of social media over the next several weeks. I'm sure everybody likes to go and grab it. It again is on that seasonal fire causes page at nfpa.org, and then public education. Okay, so it's a bit out of date. It looks a little bit old, but the everything still applies. The rules haven't changed. Okay, sorry about that. So some outreach ideas I actually already mentioned. What can you do and how can you get these messages, these fire safety messages out to people when people may not be gathering in the usual spots and as often and certainly in as great numbers. So we were brainstorming on some of this earlier this week as everybody's got some summits and presentations and workshops going on. So again, food banks, places where people collect food, churches, whether you're doing virtual services or in-person services, hand out the tip sheets or send out the links and have the places of worship do that. All kinds of ideas. Grocery stores have the tip sheets available to put in with shopping bags, or what's the other one I was going to say? If you're doing online food delivery, restaurant delivery, lots and lots of our fire prevention and fire and life safety educators did that kind of thing during Fire Prevention Week, when of course many, many restaurants in many, many regions were closed and takeout was the only option, which it is here right now. So it's a good idea. It requires a little bit of work, but it helps us get the messages out. Okay. All right. So still talking about Christmas. I know I'm not traveling anywhere, but if you have folks traveling within the bubble there, some information that might be of help to them and to you, and that again, you can grab from the website and disperse or disseminate in the way that works for you. So things about car fire safety, staying in hotels and motels. I don't know what you guys, I carry my own smoke and CO alarms. They're little tiny ones that I got a couple of years ago from First Alert. They're just awesome. Staying at a home away from home. So if you're doing an Airbnb, so people now who are having to self-isolate when they come into the Atlantic region, I'm hearing lots of people who are doing Airbnbs and hotels and wherever they can find a place. And now the way I understand it, you have to isolate independently, right? No longer can you isolate with other family members or with other people in a household. So there may perhaps be more of this where people are looking for places to stay where they can be on their own for the 2 weeks. So some resources that may come in handy there and that you may be able to share with associations that provide that kind of accommodation. Okay, and then another great safety tip sheet that again can go on your website, on your fire department's websites, get your corporate communications people to share, and you know, again, print and have available wherever it works. Okay. One thing too, fireworks safety, like I mentioned for Diwali, it's an issue, a big issue here in Ontario. We have, when I first moved here, I couldn't believe the numbers of nights that there would be fireworks. Not so much where you guys are, I don't think, but it's going to be an issue for certainly for New Year's. So as you know, NFPA does not recommend the use of consumer fireworks. There will be no gatherings this New Year's. So it might be an idea to recommend or not recommend, and it's tough because some municipalities allow consumer fireworks or family fireworks and others don't. So our stand is we don't recommend and we don't endorse consumer fireworks. And why not? Well, you know, water boils at 212, right? And the sparklers, so just the little sparklers burn at 1200 degrees. So it's a very common injury to have young children coming into hospital emergency rooms with burns from sparklers. So there is a fireworks page. If you Google NFPA and fireworks, you'll come to a fireworks page. There is a safety tip sheet. There's a Canadian version of that on the Canadian resources page. And then there is a social media graphic that goes with it. So again, information that you can provide that will be useful to people when you frame it in the context of, you know what, we probably won't be gathering for New Year's fireworks. We don't recommend family fireworks. Try a virtual option. And here's why. And when you explain it, you probably get more traction and more understanding. So a few more things that have come out over the last little while. Interesting conversation during Fire Prevention Week with a department in Newfoundland that was making a video for Fire Prevention Week and wanted to know about using extinguishers and extinguisher training, and then kitchen safety. So NFPA does not recommend the use of fire extinguishers for small grease fires or oil fires on the stove. And that's simply because most people aren't trained in the PASS system or to properly use a fire extinguisher. And what we have found through research is that use of a fire extinguisher will often either spread the fire or cause the grease or oil to splash and cause injury. So we recommend that you slide the lid over the pan. However, if someone is properly trained, and in other situations, this is a good tip sheet to provide on how to use on fire extinguisher location and placement. And we get asked for this a lot, and we get a lot of requests about commercial operations and fire extinguisher training and whatnot. So this is on the fire extinguisher page along with a whole ton of other information, and this may be useful to you. Okay, and something that I don't know how applicable it is to you, but we have had lots of hot works incidents in the United States. In particular, we had a couple of fatalities here in Ontario about 8 years ago that were the result of hot work being done in the roof of a building, and it was 2 firefighter fatalities actually. So NFPA has developed a hot work safety course and program that is online and easily doable in a couple of hours, and this is a hot work safety sheet that goes with it. If it's an issue in your community, if you find that you have organizations, associations, and operations that might be interested, or you have construction going on, you can provide it to the Construction Association. It just explains some of the details, how to set up fire watch, the protocols and best practices for hot work safety. So anywhere there's construction going on, it's not a bad idea to have the tool handy. Okay. And something that, again, was in response to the explosion in Beirut. And again, we're developing information and resources as things happen in the world. So it's a good solid review of ammonium nitrate safety and storage in particular. So I just want you to be aware that we have all these things. Brief description of NFPA Link, which you may be seeing on social media if you follow NFPA. So NFPA Link is going to be our new codes and standards house and home. The only code that's there now is NFPA 70, which is the National Electrical Code, which is used in the United States, but not so much in Canada. But over the next 3 or 4 weeks, most of our codes and standards will migrate to NFPA Link. So it's nfpa.org/link. And it's a fantastic system. I had a training session on it this morning, and it allows you to do everything online and share codes and standards, share notes, share bookmarks. And when a code is revised or updated, everything that you've done stays within your own personal file and folder, and you don't have to buy new books, you don't have to spend money. It's all there in front of you, and you can use it on different platforms and share within your organization. So the Office of the Fire Marshal, for example, gets the membership, which is way cheaper than buying the books and the hardcover books, or the printed books. And then you can all share within the organization your notes, your situations, your bookmarks and you know, whatever it is that is going on at the time. So it's all happening. There is a 14-day free trial now. I recommend that you wait to do the trial for probably 4 to 6 weeks until more standards are within the system, and then give it a try, and then we can talk about it. You can talk to me about it, or Shane, who is of course our regional director, and we can walk you through it and find the best option for you. Okay, so it is really cool. It's taken years to make all this happen, but that was our commitment for 2020, that we would digitize all of our resources, and this is sort of the culmination of that project. So very cool. Okay. All of this stuff, everything I've talked about, has appeared on NFPA's social media channels over the last little while. So if you follow us on social media, that's the best way, other than those e-newsletters and RSS feeds we talked about earlier, to know what's coming down the pipe. So on Facebook, of course, we are National Fire Protection Association, and on Twitter, at NFPA, and then that is for sort of the codes and standards and whatnot. And then Sparky the Fire Dog is the handle for all the pub ed material. But you know, things like those pardon me, portable heaters is at pub ed, sort of, not really, but it's coming out under the Sparky the Fire Dog brand. So make sure that you follow both, and that's how you find out what's going on. There's so much that I can't even keep up, so I often find it on social and then end up sharing it and pulling it into these presentations and workshops. Okay, so just a bit of a hint. And then we work very closely with USFA, and they are steps ahead of us, and they actually have a little more capacity than we do to create things. So if you're not familiar with this already, right, so USFA, pardon me, provides tons and tons of social media graphics that, again, are downloadable and free and easy to read and very simple messaging. All of their messaging comes out of the NFPA educational messaging document. So we're all on the same page on all of that. And it's easy to download, easy to pull off, and easy to use. And, you know, we've got stuff right now about cooking, and we've got stuff about holiday safety. So if you're in the market for, if you're putting together a campaign, if you're trying to reach schools, if you're have a specific target audience, you can probably find what you're looking for at that site. And again, it's very easy. They aren't available in French, but again, if you're looking for something specific, let me know, and we might be able to make that work and have it translated. And I just wanted to remind you that SparkySchoolhouse.org is sort of marketed as a place for teachers to get resources and information and lesson plans and whatnot, but it's actually available to everyone, and tons of resources that can help you. So a couple of new things that have come out over the last little while: 2 e-readers, so that you can read them on a phone or a tablet or a computer. One is Annie Makes a Plan, and the other is, I'll just show you, this is about a fire escape plan, and the other is How Much Do You Know About Fire Safety? I actually had a hand in writing them, which was kind of fun, and trying to keep everything to a specific grade level and make them accessible for everyone, but they're available now. And Carol, great for your school and great for school age kids. And again, to share with preschools and daycares and schools, if you can't be in the schools now, not a bad way to give them a new resource. Okay, and Sparky the Fire Dog, of course, everyone loves, and just a reminder that you can get the book, which is on the right, or there's a video on, pardon me, online at sparkyschoolhouse.org of a teacher reading it. So that also is a great resource that you can share with your daycares and schools and organizations and groups. Okay, just a couple of minutes on messaging. You guys wear so many hats, right? You're doing so many things in your day-to-day lives, your work life, and then your volunteer life and your fire department life. But the one thing that we want to be sure of is that everyone is using the same messaging. And for those of you who I know well, you've heard me say this umpteen times, but consistency is the key. And our educational messaging desk reference document is critical people so that we're all getting the same messages out and that we're all using accurate messages. It is available in English and French. There's a new version coming out in early 2021 that will have lots of updates, and we'll have it translated immediately after it's ready. So it will either go to Government of New Brunswick or Government of Nunavut to translate. Jeff Cross, who's not on the call tonight, will have a hand in it and at least give approval, because sometimes there are dialect differences, but we'll make sure that that happens. And there's the French version. And where do you find it? So if you don't have the French version and you would like the French version, you go to nfpa.org. Hover your mouse over public education and then click where it says Canadian Fire Education Material, and it will take you to the French version. And the English version is here, public education and educational messaging. Okay, download it, keep it with you all the time. It is my Bible, and I've been preaching that gospel for a long time to everyone who will listen. Okay. Lastly, just a couple of bits of information, campaigns. So this is my baby, Wildfire Community Preparedness Day. You don't have to live in the wildland-urban interface to be eligible for $500 awards that are coming from Fire Smart Canada in conjunction with NFPA and the cooperators and ICLR, which is the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction. The application period is open right now and goes only until January 15th, but that's still lots of time. And we have lots of things like project ideas, things that you can do in your community to help educate people about being fire smart, whether it's a neighborhood, a community, a half a block, a whole block, or a whole city, or a whole town, or a whole municipality. So again, if you have grass fires in your neighborhood, if you have brush fires in your neighborhood, and if you are, you know, in near forest or wildland, by all means apply, because you will be eligible. And my goal this year as chair of this committee is to make sure that we have applications from all over the country, from every province and territory, and that we provide awards to people and groups in every province and territory. So if you're a fire department and you're simply interested in educating people about protecting their homes from wildfire, even if it's grass fire or brush fire, please apply. And that toolkit that you see there on the right is on the FireSmart website, and that gives you a whole lot of ideas. There's 10 or 15 different ideas for things that you can do. And you know, if we're still in a situation where people can't gather closely together, we have ideas for that, and we think there are enough ways around that. If you're out cleaning up a park, for example, and removing debris and leaves and branches and whatnot, you can do that while you're distanced. So we believe that we should be able to quite nicely go ahead with Wildfire Community Preparedness Day for 2021. So I'm excited about that. And I would be even more excited if we could give 5 or 10 or 15 awards in each Atlantic province. So there are lots of awards. We don't have the final number yet, but please do apply. And again, it's firesmartcanada.ca. Okay. And if you watch my social, and if you watch the social for FireSmart Canada, you'll see all kinds of encouragement to apply. All right. And where's a duck? The other is Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition Canada, and I know that we have had some awards for this campaign given out in New Brunswick over the last couple of years, and we'd certainly like to have more. We are encouraging people this year to do things other than a side-by-side sprinkler demonstration because of the inability for some communities to gather, and that's fine. We're encouraging people to do 13D displays and or educational displays or campaigns. So even if you're doing an online campaign or you're out in the community promoting the use of sprinklers and the benefits of home fire sprinklers, you may be eligible for an award. So that website is homefiresprinklercanada.ca. And again, NFPA is a partner with Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition, and we once more have money to give to you to educate your communities. Okay. All right, I just wanted to let you know, some of you participated in the Remembering When training that we did good heavens, a year ago now or more. The program is being updated, and NFPA has received a lovely grant to do that. So it's all going to be online. All the learning modules will be online, and the program, the graphics, the language, and the concepts will be updated to better reflect 2021, 2022, but the messages remain the same. We're going to update some of them around medication and how medication can make you dizzy, and what you should do to avoid that and prevent falls and whatnot. But it'll all be there, and certainly when it's available, I will let you know so that you can refresh your training. Okay, and still in that vein, USFA also has information and lots of social media in relation to fire and falls prevention for older adults. So if you're looking for that kind of information, that also is at USFA. Okay, we don't have it. They have some more resources than we do. So, and one last pro tip that Carol is very familiar with. This is a Facebook group that was established a couple of years ago after an NFPA conference. The name of the Facebook group is Fire Life Safety Educators and Coordinators. This slide was screenshotted several weeks ago, and there were at that time, 1,900 members. It's grown since then. It is the best resource I could ever offer you. Lots of Canadians who are involved, and just information and resources and ideas and suggestions going back and forth all the time. If you check it once a week, you'll be overwhelmed with the great ideas and the enthusiasm of fire and life safety educators from across North America. And it is just the best resource. I'm there all the time. Kelly and Meredith, who are my two counterparts in the States, who many of you have met on our webinars or in San Antonio, just fantastic. And so we're in there trying to provide feedback and resources when people are asking questions. So it's a great place to be, and I encourage you to jump on and join. Okay, so if you Google Fire and Life Safety Educators on Facebook, or go into Facebook and type that in, then you'll be able to access the page. Okay, and that is a lot of talking and a lot of smiling and a lot of resources, and I see very little in the chat, which might be a good thing or might not be a good thing. We do have a few minutes, so feel free to unmute yourselves and ask questions or share comments or whatever you like. And there, I can see all your smiling faces again now. Yeah. Anything you liked, didn't like, anything I didn't cover, any questions about all those resources?
Laura, in the chat, I mentioned again about the those fire blankets that you're seeing advertised.
Yeah, it's funny because you've mentioned that, and I never see it. Yeah.
Has the NFPA?
I don't know, Carol.
Anything or looking into anything, because I'm seeing it pop up quite a bit now.
Are you really? Okay.
Well, I must have.
You must have Googled it. Yeah.
No, when it showed up on Facebook, I probably looked at it to see. So now it will show up more frequently. So okay. I am seeing the advertisements for it, and
okay.
They're showing different companies that are doing things. So I was just wondering, how safe are they, and is it something that we should be promoting?
Okay, I'll ask Kelly. I know that she mentioned that a while back, but I don't have any notes on it, so I'll check. Is anybody else familiar with those or had any experience with them? No? Okay, I'll send you some information for sure, and then Carol can distribute it. Anybody else? Questions, queries, comments, criticisms? Eric, you got nothing?
Nope, I just want to thank you, Laura, for all the time spent and information and giving information for us. It's sure a good thing, and thanks to Carol also for taking care of that on the prevention side for the province.
You're very welcome. I wish we had more resources in French. We are getting there, and we're working hard at it, but yeah, it's so difficult to keep up with because of COVID, and because of the digitization of all of our resources. That we'll get there. We'll keep pressing.
And I'm pretty sure if we need something or whatever, we'll contact you, and you can make the translation or whatever for any.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if there's ever anything specific you want, you guys, let me know. We can't do everything, obviously, and I certainly wouldn't want to ask for things that people won't use. So if there are things that you will use and you know you want, I can make a case for them. That works much better than me saying, hey, could you do, you know, X, Y, Z, and then not knowing.
Yeah, exactly. And if ever the province, if ever and the NFPA wants something to be translated throughout the province, they can reach me or Jeff or whoever at Fire Marshal's office, and we can take care of it also. So, yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just see, Carol, that, yeah, I do remember Jeremy's presentation, his hot work presentation. And then were you asking for the cost of the course?
That was related to
Or was that the blanket?
the standards. You mentioned that they're putting the standards, moving it over onto a platform where
Right.
you would look.
Yeah, so it's actually, yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's like $10 a month for an individual, and then however, you know, $40 a month or something for an organization that is fewer than 10 people or something. It's not expensive, and they're working on it too. They're waiting to see sort of what the response is, and then it'll all settle in depending how many, you know, users there are. And the thing that I learned today is that once you pay and once you sign up, even though we're going to keep putting stuff in, you don't ever have to pay more. Like, you know, you pay for what it is, and as we continue to build it, there won't be an increase in cost or anything like that. So I believe it's quite reasonable, and a department or an office of the fire marshal can easily afford it, because you won't have to buy the books ever, and the books were horrifically expensive.
So you basically would be able to go in and, if you wanted a standard, you'd be able to go in and download it off of that site.
So yeah, essentially you're not downloading it. It's there, and it exists in some format or another. Like there used to be PDFs of standards, and we're not doing those anymore because they weren't manipulative. You weren't able to manipulate them. And now they will exist when you go there with your membership, and there's sort of there's a way that you get in, and then you're in, and your standards are there, your catalog is there, your bookmarks are there, your notes are all there. So it's all online, but I don't think they're downloaded. Yeah. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense. I haven't been able to go in and use it yet. I've only just seen it. So
I guess basically more than download it, would you be able to print it off so that you could sort of?
You might be able to print, but I think that's what everybody's trying to discourage, right? Because I'm sure that you can screenshot and print the same way that you would be able to screenshot and print from the free access right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to want to print a whole standard.
Yeah, because they can get lengthy.
Yeah, all your ink is gone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then, you know, this way you can have access to it on your phone, your tablet, your computer, whatever it is, wherever you are, particularly if you're an inspector or a fire prevention officer, and looking at them all the time. And then particularly folks who are involved in electrical safety, that's what we've got now. And they're finding, we did a presentation today for the Ontario Electrical Safety Association, and they were just blown away by how intuitive it is and how easy it will be to use. So. Yeah, you had enough, Carla?
Just a long day.
I know, they're all long, aren't they? Yeah, so we can do, once Link gets up and running, I would recommend that we have our Link people, rather than me, do a short presentation for you, late one afternoon or early one evening, half an hour, which is what they did today, and it was fabulous. But once we get more of the codes and standards in there.
That might be something good for us to add to our agenda there, Carla, for
Yep.
our next discussion.
Yeah.
We can discuss that tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. All right, guys, it's 7 o'clock. I don't want to keep you. I could talk to you all forever because I like you all so very much and miss you all and miss home and whatnot. So if I don't talk to you in the meantime, have a wonderful and very safe Christmas and holiday, and stay in touch by social and email and whatnot. Thank you, Carol, once again for giving me this opportunity. It is wonderful to see you all, and stay safe, stay in touch.
Just before you go, where everybody goes off for a minute, the AFPO Seminar Planning Committee is meeting tomorrow night, and we're going to be discussing the formats of how we will be doing some education over the next year or so. And one of the things that we've been discussing with Laura is offering the Fire Prevention Safety Educator Level 1. And she's working right now with the Waverly and trying to see how we can bring that to New Brunswick. It's a course that's not readily available easily across Canada, but she's looking into it for us, and it looks as if we may be able to have that here for a relatively, possibly a good fee. And so it'll be something that you'll be able to look for coming down the road in terms of adding that to your tool belt. So you become certified. After you have it, you get a certificate, I'm assuming, Laura, that's indicating that you would have that Fire Safety Educator Level 1. And I think there's three different levels, but that would be the first level.
Yeah, that's correct. The level 3 I don't think is offered anywhere in Canada yet. I don't even have level 3. It's really hard to come by, but yeah, level 1 is the starting point for sure. Level 1 is if you're delivering public education. Level 2 is if you're supervising public educators and creating programs. And then level 3 is if you're somebody else more important who gets paid more. Yeah.
But it is something that has been recommended and asked for that we try to provide for the province of New Brunswick in terms of getting people educated and having that certificate to hang on your wall.
Yeah. Yeah, and we would do it so that everybody could attend, either evenings, weekends, whatever it may be.
Anyway, thank you, Laura, and the NBFPO on behalf of our association. Our board, we'd like to thank everybody for signing up and attending, and stay tuned. We'll be sending out further updates on what we are doing in the foreseeable future.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Night.